You're right, guys, so I wasn't going to bother making a video about this topic, but AdamKoralik just made a video on the topic, and he literally asked his viewers to make video responses and to contribute and give their thoughts on the matter. And he's one of my favourite channels on YouTube, one of my favourite vloggers, just a great guy, no bullshit, says what he thinks, knows what he likes what he knows, one of those things. But yeah, and great content and so knowledgeable on all things Sega, Dreamcast in particular, one of my favourite consoles, and of course my favourite game of all time. It's Shenmue. You never would have guessed, would you? Yeah, so I kind of have to throw my 2 pence into the ring. I'm not going to say too much though, because Adam covered pretty much everything that needs to be, pardon me, said about this. And I agree with everything that he said. So you go watch his video if you want to get a full lowdown. Yeah, he says everything that needs to be said. But a couple of things maybe that could be added to it. Yeah, it's about the Kickstarter thing. It's not going to happen. Long and the short of it is, it's not going to happen. People have been losing their shit over this. Someone basically mistranslated what Yu Suzuki was saying. As Adam said, I'm not going to repeat his long video obviously word for word, but just to give you the quick synopsis of what happened. Yeah, he was in a room full of Sega fans, Shenmue fans no less, and he's asked this question every single time he comes up against reporters. Shenmue always comes up. I mean, the guy must be sick to the back teeth of answering questions about it, and he's never going to say something negative. He wants to make the game, it's his baby, he's got the story there ready and waiting. Okay, he's never going to say anything negative towards those questions. He is never going to say no to anything. So when someone asks him, would you consider going through Kickstarter? Of course he's going to say yes. That's not the end of the story. He hasn't actually got control over the license of that game. But this is one thing that Adam didn't touch on. And it doesn't really matter, it's just speculation. It's not like it, you know, something essential that needs to be, that's going to change anything, fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Oh, get excited just think about it. But you have to keep it on the level, because it's not going to happen, okay? We cannot have people running around getting their panties in a twist over this. I do not want to have my heart explode within my chest at the thought of it happening, because it's not. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so what I was going to say was, fuck, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the license of it, right. Sega, for fuck's sake, if you're not going to do anything with it yet, if you're too pussy to take a risk, why don't you give the license to Yu Suzuki and he can go and do what he wants with it? Then he can personally go and do a Kickstarter, there'll be nothing stopping him, and he could get together a team of programmers to make it, even if it's just on a fucking Dreamcast, even if it's just with, you know, Dreamcast standard graphics, so it's quicker and easier to program, and maybe you can still use the code that they've got existing. Apparently, hopefully, logically there should be quite a lot of it still in existence, the bare bones, because they were creating that game as a series, that kind of thing. What I'm trying to say is, it's in all likelihood there is some kind of bare bones of Shenmue 3 out there, whether it's just the storyline, that's definitely out there, or whether it's actually game engine stuff. Well, they already should have the raw game engine of Shenmue 1 and 2 at least, so they can work with that. I'm getting to the point. Sega, if you're not going to do anything with it, release it. If you love something, let it go. Sega. Give Yu Suzuki that stuff that's stored away in some fucking warehouse somewhere, on some forgotten hard drives, right? Give it to Yu Suzuki, right? Maybe even with a little deal. Maybe sign a contract, say, alright, you can have this, but if it works, if it's a success, we want 50% of the profits for letting you have the rights. Which is still pretty tight, but I'm trying to be realistic here. And I don't know if there's any kind of precedent for this kind of thing happening in the past. I don't think there is, you know. But that's my idea of a realistic way to resolve this. Is for Sega to release their license to Yu Suzuki, for him to go and then personally do a Kickstarter, raise the funds, yada yada yada. Because it really doesn't seem anything possible that, you know, a massive company like Sega is going to go through Kickstarter, a crowdsourcing little website that is used for, you know, people that want to, you know, do things on an independent scale. It just doesn't seem like that's ever going to happen. But if they gave the license to Yu Suzuki, there's no doubt that he would get a ridiculous amount of backing to fund that project. And like I said, even if it was just something that was Dreamcast level graphics, I would accept that if that was the only way it was going to happen. And it would make it easier and cheaper to do that, because like a lot of the stuff's already there ready to go, okay? And you can get a team together to knock that up in no time flat, surely. Now, Oculus Rift went through Kickstarter. That's an independent little company that wanted to make VR goggles. I'm sure you all know about this. They got a couple of high profile supporters in John Carmack of ID Software, and he got psyched about it, he got on board with the promotion of it. But I can't remember which came first. Was the Kickstarter first, or it doesn't matter. Anyway, basically they went through Kickstarter. They only wanted to get $250,000, okay, to create a couple of prototypes and send them out to a few choice developers. They ended up getting $2.5 million. $2.5 million because people were so hyped for VR. And that was with an unknown. Palmer Luckey is an unknown in the industry. With someone like Yu Suzuki with his hand out saying, look, I'm going to give you it. I'm going to give you what you want. You want it? I can give you it. You just need a little bit of help. Easily would fund the entire development of that game. Easily on Dreamcast level hardware, level graphics. And if they did do that, I don't think it would look out of place if it came out on, say, Xbox Live and PS3 network. Maybe as a physical release it would seem underwhelming, but they could at least update it to be HD. I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to slightly update the graphics and the textures. But if you go in that route, why not, you know, try and make it a proper full-blown AAA release? Well, that comes down to funding again, and man hours, and being able to assign, you know, skills needed to do that. I know that was all a bit jumbled. The main point that you want to take home from this, okay, is that my thoughts on this, the most realistic way to get this done is for Sega to release the license to Yu Suzuki, maybe with a contract to say they can keep some of the profits, the greedy bastards, if it works. Let him go and fund it independently, because he will definitely want to do that. And get a team together. That can't be hard. You're gonna there'll be people, there'll be programmers out there that will work on this thing for free. Or maybe like George Lucas with Star Wars, you know, work on it for peanuts and then sign something. If it's a success, then they make shitloads. On you go. So it worked for George Lucas, and I've just lost some of my lighting. This is my Xbox 360. Yeah, it's lit. It's an impromptu vid because I'm doing it for Adam, man. He's one of my favourite channels, and he asks for video responses, and he fucking deserves them. And it is an important topic. How fucking important topic? We just keep getting teased. We keep getting teased. I mean, they put him in the fucking racing game. You put fucking Ryu in fucking racing game. Don't fucking do that if you're not going to at least consider making number 3. But like Adam said, again, another logical way to whip up you know, support for this and enthusiasm would be to release 1 and 2 on the fucking Xbox Live and PS3 network. If you don't have to commit to a physical release, of course it would be nice if you did, but I know Sega, you've been cunt about this, so don't commit to a physical release and all that expenditure. Just stick them on Xbox Live and PS3 network. You already got the code to go. Surely it can't be hard to do that. Surely it wouldn't cost you to put them on those live networks with a HD update, whatever. Oh, well, it's kind of already HD, really. I guess, you know, Dreamcast was better resolution than the Wii, so, but let's not go down that road. Anyway, that would make sense. They also had some kind of weird mobile phone thing with Shenmue, didn't they? Some weird mobile phone Shenmue app game type thing. I don't know exactly what that was, but there's been small little ripples of that game, you know, in recent years. Sega. And they do some weird shit. Don't Sega have like loads of kind of weird gambling machines that are video gambling things going on in Japan? I'm sure they're raking it in from that. And they must be raking it in from all their old IPs that they're sticking up on these live networks. No work gone into those. new profits from old rope. Anyway, bottom line is, if they'd have no intention of doing anything with that license, why not just give it to Yu Suzuki? I'll repeat myself, but that's my thoughts. I don't see what's stopping them do that. The only reason that they wouldn't do that is if they wanted to do it themselves. But it doesn't look likely, does it? Anyway, but yeah, they need to realise that the reason it fails wasn't because of the game. Maybe it was because of the timing. People weren't quite ready for Shenmue. It was definitely ahead of its time. It was so involved and immersive and mature and robust a game experience. People weren't ready for it, I don't think. Feel free to disagree, but I think it was ahead of its time in the richness of it, you know, the depth, the whole thing. And like Adam said, you know, a little while later we got Grand Theft Auto 3, which really brought these sandbox games into the forefront, but that was obviously a far more kind of you know, a tabloid type sandbox experience, whereas Shenmue was very mature game. Anyway, so it was ahead of its time. It was released on a dying system. They didn't even put number 2 out in the US after it had managed to actually build a little bit of steam. They didn't even put it out in the Dreamcast number 1 territory. They just fucked up majorly with it. Things would be different here, and I'll have to comment on Adam's video. I just want to shake the Sega CEOs by the shoulder and be like, look, things will be different. You put it on a dead console. You didn't even release number 2 in America. Fucking damn it. You know, there's so many more. Oh, there's so many more 360s and PS3s in the world than there was Dreamcasts. The pool of people that would buy that game potentially is huge. Even if you just put 1 and 2 on, see how it goes. See how they go. Release 1 and 2, they're already made. Put them out there and see what happens. I fucking bet you it'll sell like hotcakes, because that game's built up a cult following and a buzz around it. And you have all these industry vets and you know older fans. I say older, whatever. You know, these fans that will spread the word like wildfire that that game needs to be played, and people will be ready for it now, because there's so many games that have done similar things but never quite the same. Never quite the same. I mean, obviously the team that made Shenmue went on to make Yakuza series, awesome series of games, and you can see some of the influence of Shenmue in it, but it's not the Shenmue. It's not the same. I mean, forget the fact that we want to finish the story, but we want to be back in that type of game world. You know, anyone like Adam said, you really have to invest yourself into it and immerse yourself into that game world. And anybody who's done that will tell you that there's precious few other games that have that same kind of all-encompassing immersion feel to it. Maybe whether it's the fact that all the NPCs have their own. Sorry, getting a bit blocked up. All the NPCs have you know, their own daily routines. You know, it all happens in kind of real time. Well, it happens in, you know, in a time scale that you can track and that kind of thing. So you've got the day-night cycle. You've got everybody going about their own business and having their own lives going on, and it just, the depth of the interactivity of all the objects and the things you can do and the characters and everything. It's just. Well, it's not going to happen. It should do, but it's not. Anyway, Adam, that's my thoughts on it. You said everything else I would say, so that's it really. Cheers guys, bye.